Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about this idea that I think most people navigating this feel, which is the fear that and the concern that they're never going to get their lives back. And if you've been listening to my messages, you've been listening to my videos over the last couple of years, there's a theme that runs through it, which is one of hope. It's also, I think, one of an important factor, which is the idea that we're not broken and that this is temporary. And really trying to pull the fear out of this. There's enough fear in it. One of the main symptoms of this is fear, because the threat response system, the limbic system, is so impacted by this, the symptoms it throws off. One of the main symptoms is fear. But anyway, wanted to talk about this idea of, will I ever get my life back? And, you'll hear me say time and again, yes, but, time's also going on and life changes as we're going through this. If this is a process that's taking 6 months or a year or 2 years or 3 years, there's also life that's happening along the way, right? There's losses, there's gains, there's births, there's deaths, there's, our own aging process. So, we're not going to necessarily come out of this the same person we went in. But we can also come out of this emotionally and mentally very different, in a positive way. And so I really want to, kind of iterate that, because I think it's important that that's emphasized rather than just the losses we incur or the negative changes. But, will I ever get my life back? You will. But again, if you've listened to my messages along the way, you hear me talk a lot about mindset and behavior. So today, one of the mindsets, one of the little catchphrases that I use is hug the UGG. And I use this with people, whether they're going through benzo withdrawal, another medication withdrawal. I talk to people that have had similar experiences that I did, which was a highly adverse reaction to an antibiotic. I talk to people that reach out where their nervous systems are sensitized for lots of reasons: chronic stress, acute stress, never touch medications. And hug the UGG, what I mean by that is the UGG meaning the symptoms, the physical symptoms, the mental symptoms, the cognitive symptoms, the pain, whatever it is you're going through, it's the UGG. Also, what accompanies the UGG is often all the intrusive, scary thoughts and all the what ifs of, what if I never get better? What if this never goes away? What if I can never work again? What if I lose my family to this? All the intrusive, looping, negative kind of thinking that is, again, par for the course with this. And why do I say hug the UGG? I don't literally mean you're going to love this, like love the pain, right? But it goes back to my idea of the difference between pain and suffering. We can't control the pain of what we go through in our lives, whether you're listening to this because you're going through benzo withdrawal, whether you're listening to this because you have really bad anxiety, whether you're listening to this because you've had an adverse reaction to a medication, whatever's brought you here, hormonal imbalances, whatever. We can't necessarily control the symptoms and the pain that comes with that. The suffering is the story we tell ourselves about the pain that we're going through. And that is where we can find our foothold and begin to implement some change to work to get our lives back in time. That as we recover, that we are laying down good neural pathways, good habits of thought, good habits of behavior, reframing the symptoms and being responsible for the story we tell ourselves about what's going on in our lives and the symptoms that we're experiencing. So hug the UGG, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is we want to get away from resistance. Because every time we approach a symptom, an old symptom, a recurring symptom, a new symptom, with, oh my gosh, oh no, this shouldn't be happening, how long is this going to last, I can't handle this, anything along those lines, anything other than saying, yep, there it is, yep, there's that thing, yep, there's that symptom, oops, there's a new symptom. So hug the UGG is really getting away from resistance. Because resistance keeps us locked into that hamster wheel of anxiety. It keeps us locked on that hamster wheel of this threat response system that's going on in us, that is throwing off a lot of adrenaline, a lot of cortisol. It's keeping us in a fight, flight, freeze state. It's keeping us in a sensitized state. And the more that we resist, the more that we fight, the more that we try to fix, the more that we focus, the more that we turn inward, and our worlds become solely about how bad we feel. And of course, we all fall prey to this. I certainly fell prey to this in my own life. It's why I can talk about it so honestly, is because I lived that way for a long time. Really focused on how bad I felt, really focused on all the losses, really focused on how this shouldn't have happened to me, how it shouldn't have happened to anybody. And the story I kept creating was one of, really keeping myself in a kind of a victimized state. This is not here to gaslight you. This is not here to minimize your distress. This is not here to minimize the injustice of this even. It is to say that it's here, and we get to choose to push it away, hate on it, be afraid of it, be terrified of it, resist it, which is going to keep that threat response system going. Because again, if you've listened to me, you know that the threat response system, our brains, we're always teaching it something. And it's watching us. It's saying, okay, my person is freaking out about this symptom. My person is freaking out about this thought. I must be right. I must be onto something, sending them this threat. So I'm going to send more of it. And you get more thoughts, you get more symptoms, you get locked into this fear state, this misperception of danger, rather than a perception of distress. Perception of wild discomfort is very different than a misperception of danger. So hug the UGG is one of the ways to get our lives back, because again, we can't do much about the pain of the situation, but we are responsible for the story we tell that can create the suffering. It can create a story of suffering. And when I work with people and people reach out to me for coaching, and that's why I say I'm not for everybody, and that's not a slight against you, it's not a slight against me. It is simply saying there's different phases. You've heard me go back and listen to my videos of kind of the phases of benzo with recovery and nervous system recovery. And, where I tend to probably work best with people is people that really buy into the idea that mindset and behaviors matter. And no matter where they're at in their journey, they want to really focus on that and work on that, understand it, understand the threat response system, understand the circuitry better, and work on strategies and skills around that. But hug the UGG is one of those strategies. It's a very simple way of saying it is what it is. I've got these symptoms, and I can either turn inward and stare at them and throw rocks at them and scream and cry and beg. And believe me, I've been there. It didn't help. If it did, I would be sitting here making a different video for you. What did help was in realizing, okay, I'm stuck on a hamster wheel. We can call it the anxiety hamster wheel, cycle of anxiety. And people will say, no, Jen, this is chemical anxiety, or this has been brought on by X, Y. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Once you become afraid of your mind and your body, once you become afraid of your symptoms, once you start to identify as injured and damaged and broken, you are inadvertently reinforcing a misfiring system and sending more threats and locking in symptoms even more. So hug the UGG is a very simple reminder of it is what it is. This is what I've got. This is temporary. It might be brutal, but it's temporary. And I don't even like the word brutal. Just like I don't like the word broken. Just like I don't like the word damaged. I don't like any of these words because they're part of a story that's telling my brain I'm in danger versus telling my brain I'm okay. This is a dark night of the soul. This is a hard time. This is very painful. But I get to decide the distance between pain and suffering. I get to shorten the distance between oh shit and oh well. So hug the UGG is, I don't have to love it. I don't have to even like it, but it's here. And it's my body sending me a lot of information, misinformation, because I've got neurochemistry gone wild, and I get to decide how I respond to this misinformation. Do I pick up that book and start reading it and get scared by it? Or do I know that, hey, that book's bullshit. I don't want to read that book. That's not the book I want to read. I don't want to take the data my body and mind are sending me and think that it's going to always send this to me or that it's factual and right. I want to understand that, again, I'm in a distortion. I'm in a misperception of danger. These are real symptoms. These are not in your head. But symptoms are created and maintained by the brain misperceiving danger a lot of the time. And yes, do we have neurochemistry gone wild driving that? Absolutely. Is it as simplistic as GABA receptors being downregulated? I don't think so. We are much more complicated beings than it for it to be something as simple as that. And our mindset and our behaviors are areas that we can begin to really, again, hone in on and develop some new neural pathways that help us move through this. And certainly get us on the other side, maybe a little faster, maybe not, but certainly in a much better place when we land there. Anyway, guys, I hope this was helpful. Again, reach out if you want to, jenniferswanphd.com. If I'm not the right person for you, I will make sure you have names and contact of other people that do coaching that I think might be a better fit. All right, take care.